The Antarctic wind screamed across the raw sea, cold, sharp, and endless. The research vessel Vostok 7 cut through the frozen waters, its small crew scanning the horizon for signs of shifting ice. Then, through the gray mist, one of the explorers saw a dark, unnatural shape half buried in a glacial ridge. "Something's there," the lead researcher muttered, his voice muffled beneath the layers of his thermal mask. At first, they thought it was a rock, maybe debris from a fallen aircraft. But as the boat drew closer, the thing gleamed faintly under the weak polar sunday. It was metallic, perfectly smooth, spherical, and scorched black. The crew quickly realized this was no ordinary chunk of wreckage. They anchored the vessel and began towing the iceberg fragment toward the ice shelf. For hours, they battled freezing winds and biting snow, cutting through solid ice using thermal drills and plasma saw. Slowly, the buried object began to emerge, a sphere roughly 2 meters across, its surface engraved with faint foreign letters. One of the engineers wiped the frost from its side and frowned. The letters weren't English. They were Cyrillic. It was Russian. The sphere was lifted onto a snowcat and taken back to their research station, a lonely outpost of steel and frost sitting miles from the nearest coastline. Inside the station's engineering bay, the temperature climbed, melting the years of ice that clung to the object. Beneath the frost, burn marks streaked the metal, as if it had torn through the atmosphere at impossible speed before crashing here. The lead scientist ran his gloved hand across the scorched hull. "This isn't a meteorite," he whispered. "It's built." They placed the object under heavy lights. A circular hatch, fused shut by heat, sat near its upper curve. Using precision plasma cutters, the engineers began slicing through the reinforced seal. Every spark filled the room with the smell of heated metal and decades of mystery. Hours passed before the final piece fell free. The hatch released with a hiss of trapped air, pressurized, sealed tight since the day it fell from the sky. Inside lay a small, perfectly intact chamber lined with shock padding and film canisters stamped with faded Soviet markings. The researchers stared in silence. Whatever this was, it had been meant to survive. They worked quickly, transporting the canisters to the darkroom. The reels were fragile, but the emulsion still glistened faintly under light, a miracle after decades entombed in ice. Then, as the first frame flickered onto the projector screen, the silence broke. Gasps filled the room. The film showed crisp aerial photographs not of landscapes or ice formations, but of military installations, airfields, and shipyards, all unmistakably American. The team exchanged stunned looks. This wasn't just an artifact. It was evidence, a time capsule from the height of the Cold War. Frame after frame revealed secrets long buried under the ice of time. Each reel showed precise aerial views of U.S. naval bases, nuclear silos, and shipyards, footage far beyond the known capabilities of 1,960-second satellites. The team realized they were looking at intelligence once thought lost during the Cold War. As analysts studied the coordinates, they confirmed what seemed impossible. These images matched the same data referenced in a classified U.S. intelligence leak from 1962, a breach that had cost millions and was never solved. The capsule had belonged to a Soviet reconnaissance satellite, part of a covert program designed to capture American defense layouts from orbit. It had malfunctioned, re-entered Earth's atmosphere, and vanished into Antarctica, its final message frozen in time. When the story reached Moscow and Washington, both governments stayed silent. But historians knew. The discovery closed a 70-year mystery that had haunted military archives. Inside that scorched capsule lay not just film but proof of how far two nations were willing to go to watch each other from the heaven. And somewhere on the Ross ice shelf, the crater where it fell remains untouched, a quiet monument to a war fought in shadows and secrets, beneath a sky that never forgets.